The air was thick with the scent of fresh paint and jasmine on August 10, 2025, as I, Charlotte Hayes, stepped into my sister Natalie's new home for her housewarming party. At 30, I'd carved out a steady life as a graphic designer in the city, but returning to our hometown always stirred memories of our parents, our childhood, and the family estate that once bound us. Natalie's house, a charming two-story colonial on Maple Lane, gleamed with pride, its white exterior glowing under the late summer sun. I carried a bottle of wine, a smile plastered on my face, but unease simmered beneath. My brother, Owen, had been distant lately, and Natalie's rushed invitation felt oddly formal. The living room buzzed with guests, neighbors, friends, and a few cousins mingling over appetizers and music. Natalie, 28, flitted about in a floral dress, her laughter bright but strained. She'd always been the golden child, charming and ambitious, recently promoted to a marketing director role. I hugged her, complimenting the house, but her eyes darted away, landing on Owen across the room. He stood by the fireplace, arms crossed, his usual easy grin replaced by a scowl. At 32, Owen was a real estate agent, sharp and driven, but today he looked like a man holding a grenade. "Charlotte, you made it."
Natalie Said, Giding ML to the kitchen.
"Grab a drink, Mingle. It's a big day." Her voice wavered, and I wondered what was off. I nodded, scanning the room. Our parents had died 5 years ago in a car accident, leaving the family estate, a sprawling property on the edge of town, to the three of us. We'd agreed to sell it, splitting the proceeds, but the process dragged, mired in legalities. Natalie had pushed to finalize it quickly, claiming she needed her share for this house. Owen had been cagey, delaying meetings with the estate lawyer. I'd stayed neutral, trusting we'd sort it out, but their tension now set my nerves on edge. As I sipped a glass of Chardonnay, Owen approached, his jaw tight. "Nice party," he said, but his tone was flat. He didn't sit, hovering near the dining table where Natalie had displayed photos of the house's renovation. "Thanks for coming," I said, trying to lighten the mood. "You okay? You look like you're at a funeral." He didn't laugh. "We need to talk. All three of us. Now." Before I could respond, Natalie clapped her hands, calling everyone to the living room. "Thank you all for coming," she said, her smile forced. "This house is a dream come true, a fresh start. I couldn't have done it without family." Her eyes flicked to Owen, then me, and my stomach knotted. The guests applauded, but Owen stepped forward, his voice cutting through the chatter.
"A fresh start who?"
He reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded document, holding it up. "Then why don't we talk about the deed to this house?" The room fell silent, glasses pausing mid-sip. Natalie's face drained of color, her hands clutching her skirt. I stared at Owen, confusion turning to dread.
"What's going on?"
I asked, stepping closer. Owen unfolded the paper, his eyes locked on Natalie.
"This is the deed to 124 Maple Lane.
Purchased with funds from the family estate. Funds that were supposed to be split 3 ways. Care to explain, Nat?" Gasps rippled through the crowd. Natalie stammered, "Owen, this isn't the place." "It's exactly the place," he snapped, turning to me. "Charlotte, she used our inheritance, your share, my share, to buy this house. Without telling us."
"The estate sale?"
"She funneled the money through a shell account. I found out last week."
"My head spoon."
The estate was worth over $1 million, meant to be our safety net. I'd planned to use my share to start a design studio, a dream I'd shelved for years. Natalie had known that. "Is this true?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Natalie's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't deny it. "I was going to tell you," she said. "I needed the house, the job. It's complicated. I'll pay you back, I swear."
"POS back." Owen laughed bitterly.
"You forged documents, Nat. You lied to the lawyer, to us. This isn't a loan, it's theft." The guests shifted uncomfortably, some slipping out the door. I felt their eyes on me, the betrayed sister, caught in a family implosion. My mind raced, piecing together the past year. Natalie's urgency to sell, her vague excuses, Owen's growing distance. Had they both been hiding things? I looked at the deed in Owen's hand, its black ink stark against the festive room, and anger surged. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked Owen, my voice sharp. "You found out last week and said nothing?"
He hesitated, guilt flickering. I wanted proof.
I didn't trust my own suspicions until I saw the bank records.
I'm telling you now.
Natalie reached for me, her hands trembling. "Charlotte, please, let's talk privately. I can explain." "No," I said, stepping back.
You don't get to control this. Not anymore.
The party dissolved, guests mumbling goodbyes. Natalie sank onto the couch, sobbing, while Owen stood rigid, the deed still in his hand. I grabbed my purse, needing air, needing space. "We're not done," I told them both. "I want answers, real ones. Tomorrow." Outside, the summer night was warm, but I shivered, my world upended. Natalie had stolen from us, from me, to build her perfect life. Owen had known and kept silent, leaving me blindsided. The family estate, our parents' legacy, was gone, siphoned into this house. As I drove home, my anger hardened into resolve. Natalie's betrayal wasn't just financial, it was personal. She'd taken my trust, my dreams, and I'd make her answer for it. Owen's role wasn't clear either, but I'd dig until I knew everything. The housewarming was meant to celebrate a new beginning, but it had ignited a war, and I was ready to fight. The morning after Natalie's housewarming, August 11, 2025, I woke with a knot in my stomach, the memory of Owen's accusation and Natalie's tearful non-denial replaying like a bad dream. The deed to her house, bought with our family's estate funds, was a betrayal that cut deep. I sat at my apartment's small dining table, coffee growing cold, and stared at my phone. Natalie had texted at midnight, "Please Charlotte, let me explain. Meet me today." Owen had sent nothing, his silence as unsettling as his outburst. I needed answers, but trust was fractured, and I wasn't sure who to believe. I called my best friend Mia, a paralegal with a knack for cutting through chaos. She arrived by 10, her laptop and a bagel in hand. "Okay," she said, settling on my couch, "start from the top. What exactly did Owen say about the estate?" I recounted the party. Owen's claim that Natalie had funneled the estate sale money into her house, forging documents and lying to our lawyer. "He had the deed," I said, rubbing my temples. "But he didn't tell me until last night." "Why wait?" "And Natalie? She didn't deny it, just promised to pay us back. It's our inheritance, Mia. My share was for my design studio."
Mias Eisnarot. If Natalie forget anything, Therese a paper trail.
And if Owen's right, the estate lawyer should have caught it. Who handled the sale? "Margaret Reed," I said. "She's been our family's lawyer forever. Natalie said she was working with her to finalize the sale last year." Mia opened her laptop. "We need to see the estate's financial records, bank transfers, sale documents, everything. If Natalie redirected funds, it'll show up. And we need to talk to Reed. She's either complicit or clueless, and neither's good."
I hesitated.
Confronting Margaret meant diving into legal waters, and Owen's secrecy gnawed at me. Was he protecting me by waiting, or hiding something himself? I texted Natalie, agreeing to meet at a coffee shop at noon, and called Owen, leaving a voicemail, "We need to talk. Today. No more surprises." At the coffee shop, Natalie was already there, her eyes red-rimmed, her floral scarf a stark contrast to her pale face. She stood as I approached, but I stayed stiff, sliding into the booth. "Start talking," I said, my voice low. "How did you buy that house with our money?" She swallowed, twisting her napkin. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. The estate sale was complicated, taxes, liens. Margaret said we could lose half to fees if we didn't move fast. I set up a holding account to streamline it. My share went to the house down payment. I was going to tell you and Owen, but my job, the promotion, it all happened so fast." "You forged documents," I said, echoing Owen's words. "You lied to us." "I didn't forge anything," she snapped, then lowered her voice. "Margaret handled the paperwork. I signed what she gave me. I thought it was above board. I swear, Charlotte, I'll pay you back, your share, Owen's, every cent." Her desperation seemed genuine, but her story was thin. "Why not tell us?" I asked. "We're your family. You knew what that money meant to me." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I was scared you'd hate me. I needed the house to start over, to prove I could make it. I messed up, but I didn't steal." I wanted to believe her, but the deed in Owen's hand wasn't a misunderstanding. "I need proof," I said.
Bankrecords, emails with Margaret, evaluating.
"And I'm talking to her myself." Natalie nodded, wiping her eyes. "I'll get you whatever you need."
Just, don't shoot Emil out.
I left the coffee shop unsettled, her words ringing hollow. Owen finally called back, agreeing to meet at his office that afternoon. His real estate firm was a sleek space downtown, all glass and chrome. He was behind his desk, the deed and a stack of papers in front of him, his face drawn. "About time you called," I said, sitting across from him. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I found out last Monday, August 5th. A client mentioned Natalie's house purchase, said it was a cash deal. It didn't add up, her salary couldn't cover it. I checked the estate account and saw the transfer to a shell company. I traced it to her mortgage lender. I didn't tell you because I needed to be sure, Charlotte. I didn't want to blow up the family without proof." "You still waited," I said, anger flaring. "You let me walk into that party blind." "I know," he said, his voice heavy. "I thought confronting her there would force her to confess. I was wrong. I'm sorry." I studied him, searching for deceit.
Show me the proof.
He slid a folder across the desk, bank statements, transfer records, and a title report linking the estate funds to Natalie's house. The numbers were damning. $1.2 million from the estate sale, funneled through a company called Maple Holdings, then to her mortgage. "Margaret Reed signed off on it," he said. "Either she's in on it, or Natalie played her." I felt sick. Natalie says she didn't forge anything. She's blaming Margaret. Owen's jaw tightened. "Then we talk to Margaret. I've got a meeting with her tomorrow, August 12th. Come with me." I agreed, taking copies of the documents. Back home, I shared them with Mia, who cross-referenced the records online. "Maple Holdings is a shell company," she confirmed. "Registered to Natalie, created last year. This wasn't an accident. She planned it. But Margaret's signature is on the transfer. We need her side." That night, I lay awake, torn between anger and grief. Natalie's betrayal was clear, but Owen's delay and Margaret's role raised questions. Was Natalie the mastermind, or a pawn in a bigger scheme? I called Margaret's office, scheduling a meeting for tomorrow, and texted Natalie, demanding her bank records by morning. As I drifted to sleep, the deed's image burned in my mind. Natalie's house, built on our parents' legacy, a monument to her greed. I'd uncover the truth, no matter who it implicated, and make her pay for what she'd taken. The morning of August 12, 2025, was overcast, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. Natalie's betrayal, using our family estate to buy her house, had shattered our bond, and Owen's delayed revelation left me questioning his motives. Armed with bank records and the deed, I was determined to confront Margaret Reed, our family's lawyer, and uncover how she'd allowed or enabled Natalie's scheme. I met Owen at his apartment at 9 a.m., his face grim as he gathered his own copies of the evidence. We drove to Margaret's office in silence, the weight of our fractured family pressing down. Margaret's office was a cozy suite in a historic building downtown, lined with bookshelves and family photos. She greeted us warmly, her silver hair neatly pinned, but her smile faltered when she saw our expressions. "Charlotte, Owen," she said, gesturing to chairs. "I wasn't expecting both of you. What's this about?" I didn't sit, placing the folder of bank records on her desk. "It's about the estate sale. Natalie used the funds, our funds, to buy her house. Your signature is on the transfer to Maple Holdings, a shell company she set up. Explain." Margaret's eyes widened, her hands pausing over the folder. I don't understand. The estate sale was finalized last year, split 3 ways as per your parents' will." "Clearly not," Owen said, his voice sharp. He slid the deed across the desk. This house was bought with the full $1.2 million from the sale. Natalie forged documents, or someone did. You were the lawyer. How did this happen? Margaret opened the folder, her fingers trembling as she scanned the records. Her face paled, and she sank into her chair.
This is impossible, she murmured. I handlede sel myself.
The funds were transferred to your individual accounts, or so I thought. Then why's your signature on this? I asked, pointing to the Maple Holdings transfer. You authorized it. She shook her head, flipping through the pages. I don't recall this company. Natalie brought me documents to sign, said they were for tax purposes, to expedite the sale.
I trusted her. She's your sister.
I didn't think. You didn't think to verify? Owen snapped. You let her steal our inheritance. Margaret's eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry. I've known you all since you were children.
I never imagined.
Let me check my files. There must be a mistake. She moved to her computer, pulling up the estate records. Owen and I exchanged a glance. His anger mirrored mine, but doubt crept in. Was Margaret negligent, or complicit? Her distress seemed genuine, but I wasn't ready to trust anyone. After a few minutes, she printed a document, her hands unsteady. This is the transfer order I signed, she said. It lists Maple Holdings as a temporary escrow, per Natalie's request. She said it was to avoid a tax hit. I sent the funds there, assuming they'd be redistributed. Assuming? I said, my voice rising. You didn't confirm? Margaret looked down. I should have. Natalie was so convincing, and the paperwork looked legitimate. I failed you both. I'll make this right. How? Owen asked, leaning forward.
The money's gone.
She's living in our parents' legacy. Margaret took a deep breath. I'll cooperate fully. We can trace the funds, file a fraud claim. I have emails from Natalie, instructions she sent. They might show intent. And, there's something else. Last year, she mentioned a partner, someone advising her on the sale. I didn't think much of it, but now.
A partner?
I asked, my pulse quickening. Who? She didn't say, Margaret replied. But I kept her emails. I'll pull them for you. We left her office with a promise to send the emails by evening and a copy of the transfer order. In the car, Owen gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white. She's either incompetent or lying, he said. Either way, Natalie played her. But a partner? That's new. I nodded, my mind racing. If someone else was involved, it changes things. We need those emails, and we need to confront Natalie again. She's dodging my texts about her bank records. Back at my apartment, I called Mia, updating her on Margaret's confession. She was already digging into Maple Holdings, using her paralegal access to public records. The shell company's registered to Natalie, she said, but there's a co-signer on the incorporation, James Carver. He's a financial consultant, works with real estate deals. Sound familiar? No, I said, jotting down the name. But if he's Natalie's partner, he might know how she pulled this off. Mia promised to research Carver, while I checked my phone. Natalie had finally sent a partial bank statement, showing a transfer from Maple Holdings to her mortgage lender, but it was incomplete, missing earlier transactions. I texted her, send the full records.
No more games.
Her reply was instant, I'm trying.
Give ML time.
Time was the one thing I wouldn't give. That evening, Margaret emailed the promised documents, dozens of exchanges with Natalie from 2024, detailing the estate sale. One email, dated June 2024, caught my eye. Margaret, the escrow account is set. James says it's the best way to handle the funds.
Don't worry, I'll sort the split later.
James. The same name Mia had found. I forwarded the email to Mia, who called immediately. James Carver's got a reputation, she said. He's been linked to shady real estate flips, but nothing stuck. If he advised Natalie, he might have helped her hide the money. We need to talk to him. Agreed, I said, but first Natalie.
She's still lying.
I'm going to her house tomorrow, August 13th. Owen's coming too. Owen met me at my place that night, his mood darker than before. I checked with my real estate contacts, he said. Carver's known for setting up shell companies to move money fast. Natalie didn't dream this up alone. She had help. Why didn't you suspect Carver earlier? I asked, searching his face. You're in real estate. You didn't hear rumors. He stiffened. I don't deal with guys like him. My focus was the estate, not Natalie's network.
Don't start doubting me, Charlotte.
His defensiveness pricked my instincts, but I let it go for now. We planned to confront Natalie at her house, demanding full records and Carver's role. As I lay in bed, the email's words, "James says it's the best way," looped in my mind. Natalie's housewarming had exposed her greed, but the deeper I dug, the more I sensed a larger scheme. Margaret's negligence, Carver's shadow, Owen's secrecy. Each was a thread in a web I was determined to unravel. Tomorrow I'd face Natalie, not as her sister, but as her accuser, ready to reclaim what she'd stolen and expose whoever stood behind her. The morning of August 13, 2025, carried a humid weight, the sky heavy with the threat of rain as Owen and I drove to Natalie's house on Maple Lane. The revelations from Margaret Reed's office yesterday, her admission of negligence and the mention of James Carver as Natalie's possible partner, had sharpened my resolve.
Natalies incomplete bankrecords entwaargu promises only deepened my distrust.
The housewarming, meant to celebrate her new beginning, had exposed her theft of our family estate, and now, with evidence mounting, I was ready to demand the full truth. Owen sat beside me, his jaw set, but his silence hinted at something unspoken, a tension I couldn't ignore. We pulled into Natalie's driveway at 10 a.m., her colonial house mockingly pristine under the grey sky. She opened the door before we knocked, her face pale, her hair pulled into a messy bun. "Charlotte, Owen," she said, stepping aside.
Ik nee goed kam.
"Save it," I said, brushing past her into the living room. The space, still decorated from the party, felt hollow now, its charm tainted by the deed Owen had revealed. I set my bag on the coffee table, pulling out the folder with Margaret's emails and the bank records. "You sent me half a statement."
Where's the rest? And wo's James Carver? Natalies Eis wiedend, Herr Hans twisting togeter.
"How do you know about James?" "Answer the question," Owen said, standing by the fireplace, his voice low. "Margaret's emails mention him. He's tied to Maple Holdings, the shell company you used to steal our money."
Who is he?
She sank onto the couch, her shoulders slumping. "James is a consultant. He helped me navigate the estate sale. The taxes, the fees, it was overwhelming. He suggested the holding company to protect the funds. I didn't know it would screw you over." "Protect the funds?" I said, incredulous. "You bought this house with our inheritance, Natalie."
You lead, forge documents, and now you're blaming some consultant.
"I didn't forge anything," she cried, her voice breaking. "James handled the paperwork with Margaret. I trusted him. I thought it was legal. When I realized the funds hadn't been split, I panicked. I was going to tell you, but the house was already mine, and I couldn't undo it." Owen snorted, pacing. "You expect us to believe you're the victim? You signed the transfer. You set up Maple Holdings.
Your name is all over it."
Natalie's tears fell, but I felt no sympathy. "Show us everything," I said, tossing the folder onto the table.
Emails with Carver, bankrecords, ever document.
"Now." She nodded, grabbing her laptop from the kitchen. As she pulled up files, I watched her closely, searching for deceit. Her story about Carver was plausible, but her failure to come clean earlier reeked of guilt. She emailed me a batch of records, transfers, contracts, and correspondence with Carver dating back to May 2024. One email stood out. "Nat, the escrow's set. Split can wait. Secure the property first. Trust me." It was signed by Carver, dated a month before the estate sale closed. "This proves he was calling the shots," Natalie said, her voice desperate.
I was in over my head.
"Or you were complicit," I shot back, saving the email to my phone. "We're talking to Carver." "Where is he?" "He's local," she said, hesitating. "But he's hard to pin down. I haven't spoken to him in months." Owen stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. You're still protecting him. Why? I'm not, she insisted. I'm trying to fix this. I'll give you his last known address, his number, whatever you need. We left with the documents and Carver's contact details, but the confrontation left me unsettled. Natalie's tears seemed real, but her story was too convenient, shifting blame to a shadowy consultant. In the car, Owen was quiet, his hands tight on the wheel. She's lying, he said finally. Carver's a scapegoat. She planned this. Maybe, I said, scrolling through the emails on my phone. But Carver's real, and he's involved. We need to find him. Back at my apartment, I called Mia, updating her on the confrontation and sending her the new records. She was already digging into James Carver, and her voice crackled with excitement. Carver's got a history, she said. He's been investigated for money laundering through shell companies, but he's slippery, no convictions. The address Natalie gave matches his office, a co-working space downtown. I say you go tomorrow, August 14th. Catch him off guard. I agreed, but Owen's mood gnawed at me. You're too quiet, I said, turning to him as he sat on my couch, staring at his phone.
What's going on?
You've been off since the party. He sighed, setting his phone down.
I'm pissed, Charlotte. Et Natalie, et Margaret, et myself.
I should have caught this sooner. I deal with real estate every day. I should have seen the red flags. But I trusted her like you did. His admission softened my suspicion, but not entirely. You didn't trust her enough to tell me last week, I said.
If you're holding a meeting Else back, now's the time.
He met my gaze, his eyes steady. I'm not. I swear. Let's find Carver and end this. That evening, Mia sent a bombshell, a 2024 court filing linking Carver to a fraud case, dismissed for lack of evidence. It mentioned a real estate deal where funds were misdirected through a shell company, eerily similar to our case. He's done this before, Mia said over the phone. If Natalie's telling the truth, Carver manipulated her. If she's lying, she's his partner. I barely slept, my mind tangled with possibilities. Natalie's house, built on our parents' legacy, was a symbol of her greed, or her gullibility. Carver was the key, but Owen's role still nagged at me. Had he missed the signs, or ignored them? On August 14th, I prepared to confront Carver, texting Owen to meet me at the co-working space. Mia offered to join, but I declined, wanting to keep this between family for now. As I gathered the documents, emails, records, the deed, I felt a shift. The housewarming had sparked this fight, but Carver's shadow loomed larger, a puppet master pulling strings. I'd face him, expose his role, and force Natalie to confront the consequences of her choices. The confrontation with James Carver on August 14, 2025, loomed like a storm as I prepared to meet Owen at the co-working space downtown. Natalie's betrayal, siphoning our family estate into her house, had been compounded by her claim that Carver, a shady financial consultant, orchestrated the scheme. The evidence, from Margaret Reed's emails to the Maple Holdings records, pointed to a calculated fraud, but questions lingered. Was Natalie a pawn or a partner? And why had Owen hesitated to act sooner? The housewarming, meant to celebrate unity, had ignited a battle, and today, I aimed to end it, reclaiming what was mine and holding the guilty accountable. Owen met me outside the co-working space at 10 a.m., his face set with determination. The sleek building buzzed with freelancers, but Carver's office was a small suite on the third floor. We knocked, and a man in his 50s answered, lean, with sharp eyes and a practiced smile. James Carver, he said, ushering us in. Natalie mentioned you might stop by. His casual tone set my teeth on edge. I sat across from him, Owen beside me, and cut to the chase. You helped Natalie steal our inheritance, I said, sliding the folder of emails and records across his desk. Maple Holdings, the estate funds, her house, it's all here. Explain. Carver's smile didn't waver, but his fingers tapped the desk.
You've done your homework, Charlotte.
But I'm just a consultant. Natalie hired me to optimize the estate sale. The holding company was her idea, a legal way to manage taxes. If she didn't distribute the funds, that's on her. Liar, Owen snapped, leaning forward. Your emails pushed her to delay the split.
You set up the shell company.
You've done this before. Misdirected funds, dodged accountability. We've got court filings. Carver's composure flickered. Those filings were dismissed. I'm clean. Natalie signed every document. If she misled you, take it up with her. I pulled out the June 2024 email. Nat, the escrow's set. Split can wait. Secure the property first. This is you, telling her to screw us over. You knew the funds were ours. He shrugged, but his eyes darted to the door. Advice, not instructions. She wanted the house. I made it happen. Legally. Legally? I said, my voice rising. The transfer was fraudulent. Margaret Reed didn't know the funds weren't split. You and Natalie bypassed her. Carver leaned back, his smile gone. Prove it. You've got nothing but emails and a grudge. Owen stood, towering over the desk. We've got enough to go to the police. Fraud, forgery, money laundering. You're not walking away. Carver's face hardened, but he didn't flinch.
Do wat you want. Natalia's the one who LL born.
She's not as innocent as she plays. We left, the encounter leaving me rattled but resolute. Carver's deflection confirmed his role, but his jab at Natalie echoed my doubts. Was she manipulated, or complicit? Back in the car, Owen was furious. He's too smug, he said.
He thinks he's untouchable.
Not for long, I said, texting Mia the details. We take this to a lawyer, file a fraud claim. Carver's history will bury him, and Natalie's going down with him. Mia connected us with Daniel Pierce, a fraud attorney, who met us that afternoon, August 14th. His office was stark, his demeanor no nonsense.
Wie light out evaluating. Margaret's negligence, Natalia's shell company, Carver's emails, and the deed.
Pierce's eyes lit up as he reviewed the records. This is solid, he said. The altered transfer, Carver's history, Natalie's actions. It's a clear case of fraud and breach of fiduciary duty. We can file a civil suit against Natalie and Carver, and I'll recommend a criminal investigation. What about Margaret? I asked. She signed off on the transfer. Negligence maybe, Pierce said. But Natalie and Carver are the primary targets. We'll freeze Natalie's assets, including the house, and demand restitution. It'll take time, but you'll get your shares back. I nodded, relief mixing with dread. Suing my sister felt like severing a limb, but she'd left me no choice. Owen agreed, though his silence on the drive home gnawed at me. You're still holding back, I said, glancing at him.
What is it?
He sighed, pulling over. I knew Carver's name, he admitted. Not well, but I'd heard of him in real estate circles. Shady deals, quick flips. When I saw his name in the records, I didn't say anything because I felt guilty. I should have warned Natalie, checked the estate sooner.
I filed you, Charlotte.
His confession stung, but it humanized him. You should have told me, I said. But we're here now.
No more secrets.
On August 15th, Pierce filed the lawsuit, naming Natalie and Carver, and requested a freeze on the Maple Lane house. I called Natalie, giving her one last chance to come clean. She answered, her voice trembling.
Charlotte, ISAW the news.
A lawsuit?
Who killed you?
You stole from us, I said, my voice steady. You and Carver.
Tell the truth, or the courts will.
She sobbed, but her story didn't change. Carver misled her, she meant to pay us back. I hung up, unconvinced. That evening, Mia uncovered a final piece, a 2024 bank transfer from Carver to Natalie, $50,000, labeled consulting fee. It was a bribe, proof she'd been complicit, not coerced. The case moved fast. On August 20th, a judge granted the asset freeze, and police opened a fraud investigation. Natalie's house, her pride, was now evidence. Carver was questioned, his denials crumbling under scrutiny. By September 1st, Natalie agreed to a settlement, selling the house to repay our shares, plus damages. She moved out, her reputation shattered, and faced potential charges. Carver was indicted for fraud, his past catching up. Owen and I received our funds by October 2025, my share enough to launch my design studio. But the victory was bittersweet. Natalie's betrayal, exposed at the housewarming, had cost us our sisterhood. Owen and I grew closer, his honesty rebuilding trust. As I stood in my new studio, sketches pinned to the walls, I felt our parents' legacy restored, not in money but in justice. The deed, once a symbol of loss, had sparked my fight, and I'd won, for myself and the family we'd lost.